Welcome, everyone, to the May 20th edition of the Signals from Mars live stream. And today we have a very special KISS discussion with my patrons. We have patrons from all around the world joining us. We have, what is this, 4 different time zones. We have Johan in Sweden. Johan, how are you?
Thank you very much. I'm doing good.
Excellent. Brad out in the mountain time zone in Utah. How are you, Dr. Poison?
Very good. Thanks for having me. And I like to call this the Yarg Daylight Time. So YADT.
There you go. All right. We have Anthony in Ireland. How are you, sir?
Good stuff. Yeah.
Awesome. Jeremy also in the same time zone as Anthony in UK.
Yep, that's right. Ready to rock. Ready to talk KISS.
Awesome. And back in my home state of New Jersey is Mr. Steve Hoker. How are you, Steve?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great. So awesome to have all you guys here tonight. It is always fun to have my patrons along to discuss any topic, really. But when you get a chance to talk about one of your favorite, if not your favorite band of all time, it is always a pleasure to have you guys on board. So as we always do when we talk about bands, the first round of things that we're going to discuss is stumbling across the band KISS. So obviously, with people being spread out all over the world, the way that we got turned on to the band or saw them or heard them for the first time is going to be different. So, Johan, what was that experience like for you? Do you remember hearing about or seeing KISS for the first time?
Yes. First time I heard KISS. I've seen the pictures of them obviously before, but the first time I actually heard them that I can remember is I think 1982 at a friend's house at his sister's room, and we played a cassette for Creatures of the Night.
Okay.
That was the first time. And the song, the title track was, I think it's one of the most important songs in my life because it's a gateway for me into the music I still listen to. So that was the first time, 1982, Creatures of the Night. But that was just a day like any other. Lick It Up, when it came out in 1983, yes?
Yep.
I was in 6th grade.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that was the real opener for me for KISS. So yeah, that's they turned me on to heavier things. As soon as I heard that song, I was looking for more heavy stuff, and then I went to Motley Crue, but that's another story. But
that was a few episodes ago, Motley Crue.
Yeah, I know. I didn't participate in that.
Oh,
yeah. Sorry, but
that's fine.
Yeah, the cassette version of Creatures of the Night was the first time I heard KISS.
Excellent.
Hey, important question, Johan.
Yep.
This is in his sister's room. Was she there with you?
No, she was older.
Well, that was going to be my next question. Yeah, is she kind of cute?
I think I thought so.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I kind of feel like for me, KISS and girls kind of go hand in hand. But
yeah.
Brad, so for you, your first experience with the band KISS.
All right, 1974.
Okay,
just a couple of years before Johan, because we established in the Fireside show, he's a little bit younger than me, younger but and better looking. Yeah, so 1974. So believe it or not, I mean, if anybody who's seen me in person, it's hard to believe that I ran cross country in high school, but yeah, I was a runner. And the cool thing, what a cool bunch of guys too. But I got to be buddies with some of these guys who were a lot older. Well, they were juniors at that time, and they were big music fans. And of course, I was a big music fan. But growing up in my household, it was Black Sabbath and more Black Sabbath. And these guys though were like, hey, you should check out some of this stuff we listen to. So they would bring me albums to take home and listen to.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the albums they gave me was the first Kiss album. And I knew nothing about Kiss. And I, of course, looked at the picture on the cover and I'm like, what the hell is this crap? I had no idea what I was getting into. I went home, dropped the needle on it, and it's Strutter. Correct me if I'm wrong. Strutter kicks off the first album, right?
Yes.
And I was just like, I'm all in on this right from the drum intro. I'm in on this stuff. The guitars kick in, guitar, bass, and drums, the singing, everything. It had me. And then the song after that, and the song after that. I mean, that whole side one of that album is just, it was unbelievable. And then later that year, when I got my first bass, which is sitting right over there, the old Degas, that's how I learned to play bass. By the way, that guy never got that album back. I kept it. And when I learned to play bass, I dropped the needle on that first Kiss album and started playing along with it. And the problem I had was I'm like, well, wait a second. They're playing like lower than my lowest note on this bass. What is going on here? I did not have any, I was new to this whole guitar thing. And I finally figured out on my own that these guys have their guitars tuned down a half step, which I've never heard an official reason for the reason Kiss was doing that, but I'm guessing that had something to do with Jimi Hendrix, because I've heard, Paul from Saxon, Paul Quinn, he calls it Hendrix tuning whenever they tune down a half step. And I know that Ace was a big Hendrix guy, and so I'm guessing Ace brought that into the band, but I don't know for sure. I'd like to know why Kiss decided to play everything a half step down. I mean, obviously it wasn't to make the vocals easier, because back then they could all hit everything. So that wasn't I'm sure that had nothing to do with it. It was all about the sound. And I bet Ace brought that in. Please, somebody, if you know the answer, let me know. I'm been dying to know that. But that's how I learned to play bass with Gene Simmons. I learned to play bass standing up with my bass hung low and jumping all around the place. And that's the way I still play now. I didn't learn sitting down. I'm not one of these guys who plays their bass up here. I play it down, where, the other stuff is down there. I don't know. So that I love. Yeah. First Kiss album. I was in.
There you go. Anthony, are you with us? Oh, I see the square that says that he's there, but can't hear you and can't see you. Let's see. Let's hop on over to Jeremy, and if we get Anthony back on, we'll have him discuss his experience in a second. Oh, he's gone again. Jeremy, what was your first experience of seeing or hearing Kiss?
Yeah, well, I was a little bit later than Brad. It was probably the late 70s when somebody lent me the Kiss Alive 2 album. And that to me was incredible to hear the band, but also to see the band, because obviously Kiss isn't just a band, it's a brand. Mm-hmm. It's theater. And just to see this band in wearing makeup and wearing the high heels and wearing the costumes and seeing the fire that was coming out of Gene Simmons' mouth, I would say I was quite intimidated by them when I first saw them. I thought, this is strange. This is a kind of a strange thing. We weren't used to this in the UK. And the other thing to bear in mind is that in the UK, they weren't a big thing. You know, they were obviously a big thing in the States, but they weren't in the UK initially. And so they had to really impress on us something a little bit different. And it wasn't just the music, it was the look. But when I first heard Kiss Alive 2, I remember listening to Detroit Rock City, the first track, and picking up a tennis racket in my bedroom, and pretending that I was Kiss. And immediately I was hooked by that song. You know, I just wanted to be in the band. And obviously I was quite young at the time. I was 12, 13 years old. I couldn't say that I liked all of the songs on that album, but I did like the catchy choruses. You know, there's a lot of catchy choruses on that sort of album, and they had a lot of the early '70s feel to the songs. A lot of influence from, I would say, the Beatles. A lot of influence from the sort of bands around at that time. You know, early Rod Stewart, early Stones. It was all that sort of same sort of stuff all coming in, the influences. And it was really, you know, it was older friends at school who were into the band, and of course the logo was amazing. You know, it was something that all the friends had on the back of their denim jackets. We had bags at school where we would we would draw on we had these what's called a haversack, sort of like a bag where you could basically draw on it, and we'd all draw the Kiss logo on the bag. And that was my sort of early introduction into Kiss. And it was a band that, you know, I knew about, I liked, I didn't love, but they were certainly something you couldn't ignore.
Yeah, that's why it was one of the things that I wanted to ask both you and Anthony about, because I know that I have heard from listeners over the years and read articles and different things how Kiss didn't really have the same popularity that they had in the States, and they honestly didn't make big money in the UK until that 90s reunion tour, where they were making a ton of money everywhere else in the world. But in the UK, they weren't taken seriously because a lot of people just panned them as a band that just had an image, and that the songs, they were easy songs to play, and that the songs weren't good, and stuff along those lines. So obviously that's something that you've probably heard from people along the way, much like we talked about Dee Snider having a similar situation with Twisted Sister, where he had to take his makeup off in order for the crowd to take him seriously. So these are is that factual? Have you witnessed that yourself with people saying, well, they're not really a good band because they're only about the image? Jeremy?
Oh, is that me? Sorry, I thought you were talking to Steve because you were talking Twisted Sister. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, you know, thinking back through the years, many people that I know who are into heavy metal and hard rock, there are only half of them that will be into Kiss. And I wondered what it was about. And I think it was the image. I think either you bought into the image or you didn't. And then a lot of people would say that it was a very Americanized music, as you say, a lot of songs that were very repetitive. It's only now looking back on their body of work that I would say that I really enjoy what they've done. But at the time, going through it in the sort of the late '70s, there was a lot of bands going on in the UK which were much more technically gifted, I would say, and weren't relying on the image. So it was a very hard sell in the UK, because the UK, British people were not into that sort of Americanized image at that time. Now they are. We've become almost like America here. It's very similar, but in those days it was very different, and so it was a very it's very hard sell, and they were a difficult band to pin down in some ways, because they had all the influences from the 60s that came in through the 70s, but it was something different, and some people got it and some people didn't.
So here's me playing devil's advocate with that. So there was a problem with the image, but there wasn't a problem with the Sweet or David Bowie or bands like that were, or Roxy Music, fucking Brian Eno with Roxy Music. What was looking like the guy next door? I mean, that was totally image. And if we want to talk about being Americanized and repeating stuff, hey, that's what I say. I can't get no, over and over and over again. When the Stones and the Beatles did it, it was fine. But these bloody Yanks are coming over here with their shite.
Yeah, but there was always that thing. There was always that thing at the time. A lot of those sort of American bands, it was seen as a big brother over there, and you're a much bigger country over there, and we're much smaller over here, and we love our stuff here, and we would love to hate the stuff that came out from over there. But at the end of the day, Kiss were far more over the top than some of these bands. I mean, we did on a much smaller scale. The Sweet were a much smaller band, and they didn't go in for the full hog that Kiss did, and I think that kind of got a little bit rejected, I guess.
All right, I'll take your word for it. Anthony, for you in Ireland, what was your first reaction to Kiss? Do you remember hearing them for the first time or seeing them for the first time?
Well, I just caught the gist of what Jeremy was saying there. Kiss had no presence in Ireland. Like, they were, we would see them in Kerrang, and
right.
we would see them in, like, we had books on heavy metal, and they see pictures of Kiss on stage. That was it. Mm-hmm. Like, it's hard to really describe how little profile they had here.
Right.
So I was aware of Kiss just through your Kerrangs and things. Mm-hmm. But the first time I actually heard them was Lick It Up.
Okay.
My brother, I think, bought the 7-inch, and it was not. I'm going to be a little outlier in this conversation. It was a joke. Like, right. We put this record on and fell up all the place laughing at how much we hated it.
That's brilliant, actually.
Well, I mean, it's funny because I listened to that album today, and that's really not one of my favorite songs either off of that album or from their catalog.
I'm sure it's not.
Yeah.
That was my first time, because I'd seen them for a few years before, and then this was, that's what they sound like,
Right.
And it's funny, I've only recently seen the video for it, and it's equally hilarious. So that was the start of my Kiss introduction, and it really hasn't gone anywhere since then.
Okay.
I don't like them, but I do hear people talking about them a lot.
Okay.
Talking metal is always a constant Kiss. Either every conversation led to Kiss or Ozzy. I love I quite like listening to the lore, mm-hmm. and who played what and who didn't play what, and
right.
But musically, they just have never done anything for me. They've only ever played here one time.
Oh wow.
That's kind of, they're just not on the radar in this country.
Right.
The one gig they did do, it was big. It was a big show. It was like the biggest indoor venue. I think it was. I'm gonna say Monster Tour. Is that right?
Yeah.
And I believe it was good, but I didn't go.
Yeah, but I mean, how much does that have to do with the fact that it's the first time they're playing there? You know, this is, to me, that's similar to the like South American argument where people say, "Oh, look, they always pack the house." But if a band is playing there once, in Ireland's case, once every 40 years, of course you're going to get enough people to go because people are clamoring to see them. You're going to have enough people to fill the stadium.
Yeah. No, I didn't go, so I couldn't tell you how. Like that place might have been full of 10,000 people going crazy for all I know.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been wild to see that here.
Right.
But it could well have happened.
Well, the other thing too, Jeremy, as well, you've been to Download several times. They're headlining Download this year. They've headlined Download in the past. So even though they've had kind of an uphill battle in the UK and in Ireland, they're still seen as enough of a draw to, in 2022, have them headline one of the biggest hard rock and metal festivals in the world.
Sure. They definitely have status.
Yeah,
There's no denying that.
Yeah.
They've become more popular as well, and we'll get to that a little bit when I maybe talk about the concerts live. I think,
Okay.
Yeah. I was going to say, Anthony, it's probably just as well you didn't go see him because you probably would have got sucked into the whole thing.
I agree. And it's a huge thing to get sucked into.
There you go.
Or licked into.
Yeah. I would say like the Kiss lore is always fascinating.
Yeah. Well, and hey, I always say this. We don't all like the same stuff. And I think it's cool to get opinions from different people from different places, because obviously we all experience things in a different manner. And I think at the end of the day, just being able to talk about music and not just talk about everything the same way, because if we did that, it would all be vanilla and boring. But it's cool, to hear, hey, I got the Lick It Up, or my brother got the Lick It Up single and it sucked. My brother, who I wish would have been able to join us tonight. I'll throw it over to you, Steve, in a second, but he's who turned me on to Kiss, but he
Way
bailed.
to go, Art.
He bailed in the late 70s because he didn't like where the band was going. Like a lot of people that, didn't like seeing Kids at all the shows and didn't like, them going in a, more in a disco or a pop, vein for 2 albums there. So he was gone. So, not everyone that gets sucked in stays in forever. Not everyone is, sucked in at all. So there you go. Steve, what was your introduction to Kiss?
It's a weird one because it was actually in pre-K, probably in, I guess, 1979.
Okay.
One of the kids had a Kiss lunchbox.
Okay.
And I don't remember the first time I actually heard the music from them, but I distinctly remember seeing the lunchbox and thinking, "Oh, that's pretty cool."
Yeah. Well, at that time they had the lunch boxes, they had the trading cards, they had the Mego dolls, the 12-inch action figures, and
If the kid had bought in action figures, I probably would have really been into it then.
right.
Because then a lunchbox, it's it's cool because it has lunch in it, but aside from that, that's it.
Yeah, but the weird thing,
apparently school lunches were a lot different for where you went to school than the kids that I went to school with. Why, they brought in crap.
Well, at 4 or 5, a peanut butter and jelly sandwich was yeah, look at that.
Yeah. There you go.
I mean, I'm still like that now, but I'm just saying back then.
Well, and the interesting thing too, something that we've been talking about all day, actually, in another group, collectibles and prices and stuff like that. Those original lunchboxes go for hundreds of dollars now, and I mean, it isn't exclusive to Kiss. It's anything that is, a metal lunchbox, and if it has the the original thermos. Damn it, I don't even remember what the hell it's called. The thing where you could pour your drink in.
Yeah, the thermos.
Thermos. Yeah.
Thermos. There you go. Jesus. See, that's the problem of having two languages in your head at the same time. You forget. A flask in the U.S. is what you refer to either what a scientist has or one of these things where you hide in your jacket because you don't want people to know that you've got some Four Roses or Jack Daniels hidden in your jacket pocket. So flash, yeah, see that?
I bet they do make a Kiss flask.
Okay.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt it for a second.
I'm sure. So
I wouldn't be surprised if they had like a Bunsen burner like flask for Kiss.
If not, there's at least a prototype someplace.
Yeah, there's got to be.
Yeah. So for me, my introduction to Kiss was my brother. Similar to Jeremy, was alive too. I was 4 years old, 1977, and my brother had gotten. I don't remember if he had gotten Alive 2 and Destroyer for Christmas or if it was separate. But all I remember being was 4 years old. And there was a book that was called The Evolution of Kiss, showed them in all their different costumes depending on which album and tour. And I remember seeing the big picture of Ace Frehley with the light shining behind his head, which made it look like he had like a halo. And just seeing a Les Paul for the first time and all that just kind of grabbed my attention. It was Saturday morning cartoons mixed with music. I'm like, wow, this is this is kind of hitting on a bunch of things that I enjoy. Oh yeah, and it isn't the shit that my parents listen to. So awesome. So that was for me. That was my intro to Kiss. Johan, what do you consider your favorite Kiss album, and what 3 tracks would you pick off of that album to sell it to someone else and say, these three songs will suck you in, Anthony, if you listen to them. There you go, Kiss Flask. All right, so there's this.
Oh, this is a hard question.
Okay.
Yeah. I haven't yet figured out. Of course, the best album might be Destroyer.
Okay.
Yeah, and the songs on Destroyer are absolutely amazing. I must say that. But if I can say this, the best 2 Kiss songs I know.
Okay.
I've Had Enough and Thrills in the Night. Both are from Animalize.
Right.
In the 80s. Like, and Anthony, you love the 80s metal. Yeah. So that's my answer. I can't be more specific than that because the album Destroyer, I love it. But those 2 songs and the solo in I've Had Enough is probably one of my top 10 solos of all time. So that's a really good Animalize is a good album, but those 2 songs are very special to me. Just good. What do you think, Victor, of those 2?
Yeah, well, Mark St. John, the only album that he appears on, he doesn't even appear on the full album because Bruce Kulick, as Anthony was mentioning with the Ghost Players, Bruce Kulick does play on 2 of the tracks. And that was kind of his intro, where he's often told the story where they weren't completely sold on Mark St. John. He was kind of, as Larry David would say, he was foisted onto them. Because they wanted a Inve type player. They wanted a shredder like that. And once he got into the studio, they realized that they didn't want that type of a player, but the label wanted, them to kind of go with the trend. And I mean, I like those albums. I don't think they get enough credit. Obviously, they weren't as popular as some of the 70s album, but there's some good material on there. Unfortunately, some of those albums, the biggest problem with them are the goofy lyrics with a lot of the stuff, but it's also a sign of the time. It was what was going on. So
Yeah, but I don't know if Kiss ever had any really good lyrics. Perhaps they had. I don't know. But
Wait a second here. You're gonna say I want to put my log in your fireplace isn't like one of the greatest rock lyrics ever?
Well, or as Anthony alluded to before, which was kind of an inside joke between me and a bunch of other podcasters for some time, was any time that John Astronomy would bring up Kiss, he would start to say, it's the law of the jungle. If you've got the hunger, then you've got I forget what the rest of it is, but that's the lyrics to Betrayed. So there's, have they ever had anything remotely poetic? No, of course not, but maybe that's also part of the allure. I don't know. With Destroyer too, Destroyer is, was the first time that they had a ghost player in the band. Who was Dick Wagner, who's more known for doing stuff with Alice Cooper. Bob Ezrin, who produced the album, brought him in because Ace wasn't showing up, and he said, "Look, we got to knock this solo out," and he came in and did it. Which just recently they released 10 years ago. He remastered the entire album, and they released a version of the song Sweet Pain with Ace's solo, which didn't make the album. And the Dick Wagner solo is miles ahead of what Ace played. It seems like Ace just came in and just kind of slid up and down the neck a little bit, and that was it. So Destroyer for a lot of people is their most important Kiss album. It's the biggest seller. It has Beth. That's the original cover there.
Yeah, but just a quick input. Animalize was huge is an understatement for how popular that album was here in Sweden.
Right. See, that's the thing. They weren't big in the UK or Ireland, but in Europe as a whole, they've always been big. They've always been big in Europe, Japan, and in the US. They've gotten kicked out of Africa several times, and other parts of the world, but we won't get into why or or any of that. Not exactly PC. Anyway, Brad, your favorite Kiss album and what songs would you? Anthony has said that he's making notes. So
all right, good guy, Anthony. What a student. I have so much respect for that. Seriously, I'm not busting your balls here. This is always a tough one for me because I mean the first 3 albums to me are like, that's it. In fact, they actually sold them after a while. They sold it as a package with the first 3 albums, which I went out and rebought. I wish I still had that now because I would give that to Jeremy so he could put it on his turntable, which I don't have anymore. And I could pick any one of those 3 albums, but I'm going to pick Dress to Kill. And here's why I'm going to pick Dress to Kill. I love the sound of it. Man, it's just like, it's especially the drums. I love the tom sound on there. The drum break in Love Her All I Can. I crank that up. I mean, I got a PA system behind me here, and I play down here. I stand right in the middle of this thing with my bass, and I play Love Her All I Can. And I just imagine like Peter Criss right there on my drum set, playing those fills. And it's like, oh, guy, it sounds so good. I don't know. And from what I understand, the guy, whoever produced it, it was like somebody who didn't even know what the hell they were doing.
I think that was Eddie Kramer.
No, are you sure? I don't know about that. Let's look at Dress to Kill. I thought at that point, I've read so many doggone things that all kind of blends together. I didn't think Eddie Kramer came in until the live album. But Dress to Kill, if he was involved, that makes sense then why I love it so much. I love the guitar sound, bass sound, the whole thing. Now, if we're going to pick a couple of songs for Anthony, I think Room Service, I mean, for a Paul Stanley song, the riff in there, the riff during the chorus, it is the funnest thing to play on the bass. And I just love playing that. And then I'm going to go Love Her All I Can for those two songs. I mean, the funny thing is neither of those songs were kind of popular. I don't know if they really played them much live. But those two songs right there are just unbelievable rock songs. I think you'll find that Anthrax has covered at least Love Her All I Can. You talk about some of the biggest, Kiss fans, but I could go down the whole list here. Two Timer, that's a Gene song. It's not a great song, but it's fun. Ladies in Waiting, same thing. Getaway, which is
it's Peter's
song. An Ace song. Yeah, it's an Ace song, but Peter sings it because Ace didn't sing back then. Getaway is a great song. I don't know that they ever played that live. Rock Bottom, one of my all-time favorite Kiss songs. Just unbelievable riff. I think the studio version kind of bites a little bit because the guitar intro is too long. Jeremy could probably get with me on that because he's not for the big long intros. Come On and Love Me is probably like my least, Anything for My Baby is my least favorite song. Come On and Love Me was just kind of like a throwaway song for me, but they played the hell out of that live. She, one of my favorite songs to play live on the bass. My first band I was in, we played we played She live, and that just, the bass part on that is so fantastic. And of course it has Rock and Roll All Night, which is kind of a shadow of what the live version is of that, but the hands down their most famous song, right? Anybody gonna argue that? Yeah.
Well, Beth has technically sold more singles than Rock and Roll All Night, but
but people, they don't play that last in the concert, do they? That's not the song everybody's sticking around for. I mean, there's probably. I mean, I'm okay if I never hear Beth again. I'm okay if I never heard it in the first place. I think it's one of the stupidest songs ever written. I think it was really stupid when Blue Oyster Cult did their kind of version of it. I can't even remember what the title of it is, but I would just drag the needle right across the song, so it would always skip if it ever tried to play it again. It was that bad. No, Beth, no, and no. I don't want to hear it. Okay. I actually, the unplugged version of it, I'm kind of okay with because it's real. They're really playing it. But the whole thing about playing the backing tracks and Peter Criss standing out there and singing it was just stupid. Okay, there you go. I said it.
Yeah. So
Anthony, don't listen to Beth. Whatever you do, don't listen to Beth. Yeah, say do not listen to this song.
Yeah. So what I like about Dress to Kill is the layer. There you go. Is the layering. If you really listen to the album, there's a lot of like acoustic guitar going on in the background to fill in the rhythm tracks.
Yep.
And I always thought that was cool. And when you said like Room Service, the bass part to the chorus is like a total like Carole King type thing where he's walking the bass, on that.
Gene Simmons' bass playing on those first three albums, when he actually played on the albums,
was great.
It's incredible. I learned so much from that. I learned about walking. I learned about how to go from one part to the other, not just following what the guitar player is doing, what it's like in a lot of metal songs. I had no idea what it was. I was just learning the parts, and that to me is a problem with the 80s Kiss, is that you can tell Gene isn't playing because the bass isn't like that at all. The bass is just kind of I don't know. They lost what I thought was special about the music, where it didn't sound like it. You couldn't listen to it and go, "Oh, that sounds just like so and so." Although now hearing Paul talk about the influences for each songs, I can hear it now. But at the time, listening to those albums, I was like, nobody else is playing riffs like this. Nobody else. It's not like, they sold that from so and so, even though as we know they did. You didn't hear it though. I mean, they had their own unique take on it. It wasn't like Kiss. And again, I got into the music first before I actually saw the band. So all I saw was that picture on the cover. I was all in on the music, and the people that think they're just a joke band because of their image and the makeup and the fire and the blood and all that kind of stuff. I was in for the music, and of course I went all in on the other stuff too when I saw them live. But we'll get to that, right?
Yeah. And real quickly, out of the standards that ended up on all the live albums, the only other songs they've ever played live off of this is Two Timer, which is on one of the, it's on the You Wanted the Best, You Got the Best, which was a live compilation. And they used to play Ladies in Waiting as well.
Yes. I have heard live versions of those two songs, but I never heard them play them live. But I heard all the rest of them.
And just a confession, I hate She and I hate rock and roll.
Oh, it's such a dude. Play it on the bass, man. You stand there and play it on the bass. If you don't love it,
seen so many of my friends say the same thing, and I'm like, couldn't you have picked another fucking song out of 25 albums to play?
No,
I absolutely. No. It's so heavy. Yeah, all right.
I was actually going to hook my bass up through my mixer here and actually play songs as you guys suggested them. But of course, in typical Brad fashion, I was not prepared. Yeah. Plus, I didn't want to. I don't know that anybody would flag us as having copywritten music based on my bass playing. But I'm telling you, She. Oh my gosh, I was actually doing a sound check at a show. This is probably about 8 years ago. And it wasn't Kiss involved or anything. And they're like, okay, play your bass. So I started playing She, and everybody started losing their mind. They're like, I love that song. I love that song. I mean, everybody was just losing their crap over that. And that was, like 8 years ago. And yeah.
The Iceman I have behind me, the first time I tried it, I played the guitar riff to God of Thunder on the bass. And the guy in the music store was like, oh my God, what are you playing? Is that yours? I'm like, no, not exactly. But anyway, Anthony, Anthony, are we making any headway here? You're taking down plenty of notes.
Well, I am, but I've heard it all before.
All right.
No. I will. I'll give some of this stuff a go.
I will say that I was surprised because Brad mentioned Anthrax being big fans of theirs. When I talked to Charlie from Anthrax, we talked about the second album, Hotter Than Hell. And the big knock on that album is the production. But I think that album inadvertently influenced a lot of bands that came after it because it has a very sludgy, like stonery doom sound to it. So for
it's a weird sounding album, and I like that about it as well. But sonically it's just bizarre, and also it's out of tune.
Well, if you listen to bands like Fu Manchu and stuff like that, where a lot of people say, "Oh, it's a definite Sabbath influence," sure, the mix is more towards Sabbath. But a lot of the riffs are closer to what Kiss was doing with those first early albums. So I think a lot of people may discard that. And I've had that discussion with people telling me that, that Ace is playing is garbage and all this stuff. I said, well, listen to some of those riffs on those first few albums. And if you're a fan of stoner stuff or, any of that stuff, I do think that it does translate. But we'll see.
So Anthony, write down off of Hotter Than Hell, the title track. You got to listen to that off of that album, not any other version, but the one off of that album, and listen to Got to Choose. Yeah,
Got to Choose. Strange Ways, which has been covered by Megadeth as well.
That is good. Yeah.
Jeremy, Your favorite Kiss album?
Yeah, well, it took me a little while to get to it because I'd listened to all 20 studio albums over the past couple of weeks, and I changed my mind a few times, to be fair.
Okay.
I thought the debut album, Kiss, was going to be up. Well, it was up there for most of the time, and I was nearly going to choose that one. It has a lot of great songs on it, and if you think about it, probably six of them have been in the live set on a regular basis. So, you know, it tells you a lot.
Right.
I also liked, surprisingly, the very late 80s stuff, the Hot in the Shade and Revenge albums. I thought they were much better than I remember them. So that was interesting. I really liked Monster, which was the very last album, maybe because it was the last one as well. You know, it's 10 years old now, and I really enjoyed that. Of the early 70s stuff, which I thought I was going to pick, I'm actually surprised by Destroyer that people actually pick it as one of the favorites, because I think Destroyer has 3 songs on it that are fantastic. And bear in mind, I listened to it again today in the car. I think a lot of it is terrible, really terrible, and I don't like it at all. That's my personal opinion. And
Yeah,
you know,
I think you're right, Jeremy. I think
if
you're right.
you know, but there's a lot of people out there who rate it as the top album, and I bought it. You know, I've got a CD copy of it. I've played it a lot, and I still don't like it. So it's not Destroyer, obviously, and it could have been Love Gun. It could have been possibly Unmasked, but the best album, and this is true because I've listened to them all, is Rock and Roll Over. Rock and Roll Over is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Let me tell you, there's one reason why that album is unbelievable, because it has probably more cowbell in it than other albums. And any 70s album has to have cowbell, because the cowbell is the greatest rock and roll instrument that was ever invented. It's better than the guitar. It's better than the drum. It's better than anything. And I'll tell you what the 3 best songs are on it.
Okay.
Obviously, Calling Dr. Love. It's incredible. It's just one of those great live songs that, you know, they play. Ladies' Room, which has got cowbell in it.
Yeah.
Fantastic song. And then I would say possibly the very last song on the album, Making Love, which has a really good riff to it and is a really great song. But the whole album, you have to listen to it all the way through, and you have to turn it up, because I don't know if you've noticed, but on every stereo, it goes up to 11. It doesn't go to 10. So you have to just tweak it up a little bit more, and it's perfect. It's a perfect album by a band that was in its prime, you know, in the mid 70s. Did a lot of good albums at the time and a lot of good songs, and that's my favorite.
Yeah. I would, Brad, as much as you think that that's blasphemy from your reaction, from your chicken squawking there, for me, Rock and Roll Over is my second favorite Kiss album.
I do have to say that I went back and listened to that album recently, because when it first came out, I was like, what the hell is this crap? And it was mostly just the lyrics and that I thought were ridiculous, like beyond ridiculous. But I went back and listened to it a little while ago based on something that a guy, Al Horta, New Jersey guy. Yeah, he's a big Kiss guy. And he was telling me how great it was. And I was like, okay, I'm going to take up the challenge. And I put on my earbuds and I listened to the remastered version of it. And I was like, you know what? I really did enjoy that. But in the moment, back when that album first came out, I just couldn't. And it was the lyrics for me. It was just the lyrics were so just ridiculous. Although I do have to say that the song "Making Love," which again, great lyrics. I did play that live with a band back in the 70s, and it was a blast to play. Oh my gosh, It was fun to play.
That riff, again, something that I think influenced thrash bands a few years later, because playing with the open E string, the way that it's played is very
E flat,
symptomatic of what bands started doing. So yeah, and that was produced by Eddie Kramer. That one I know for sure.
You are correct, sir.
Yeah. See that? Mr. Hoker,
hmm
a favorite Kiss album?
Well, like I said, I'm a casual fan, so this is probably cheating, but it's a greatest hits album. It's the smashes, thrashes, and hits.
Okay,
It's the album that I like the most. Um,
enough.
I would say my favorite songs off of there are Strutter, Love Gun, and Calling Dr. Love.
There you go. So similar to
So
what?
I think they're all older Kiss songs.
Yeah. Strutter's off the first one.
Right.
Call Dr. Love is off of Rock and Roll Over, which is their 5th album, and the other one you said was Love Gun, right?
Mhm.
So
Yep.
that's
Again, stupid lyrics on those, but I
They're
like
just-
to be called Dr. Love.
Yeah, it's better than Dr. Poison, right?
Well, it's a close second.
Depends on who's asking, right?
That's true. All the guys who want to call me Dr. Love, well, you know.
so for me that I don't
But-
think there's any surprise. Or you were saying something, Steve? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I do have another favorite song, but it's totally not on that album at all.
Okay, go ahead.
But Unholy is one of my favorite songs.
Okay,
Great song.
Revenge just celebrated the 30th anniversary this week. And in true Kiss fashion, they announced that it would be reissued as a result.
Shocker.
Yeah, they take every chance to reissue and put out different colored vinyl. So I was looking for I have a Japanese version and couldn't find it. So anyway, for me, no surprise. I've said this on the 1982 special. My favorite Kiss album is Creatures of the Night. The opening track, the title track, as Johan mentioned before. Just the lyrics to that and just some of the things that are said in that song have always stuck with me. The album has always had an emotional connection with me. There was, the first death of someone in my family. The album came out around that time. So, one of those things where the emotions and something that happens in your life kind of go hand in hand and you remember certain things as a result. So for me, Creatures, their heaviest album by far, probably came out 2 years too late, a year too late, because it was kind of a knee-jerk reaction to Mob Rules and Number of the Beast and Blizzard of Oz and Diary of a Madman. They decided to go back and get heavier and think that, hey, maybe we can compete with some of these bands again. But they had lost too much steam by that point. And then the next option was, well, since we can't compete with those, with Sabbath and or Dio or Maiden, let's try to compete with Bon Jovi and Motley Crue and all these, and let's do Lick It Up. So, anyway, so moving on here. I think Asylum is great as well. I think the run, in my opinion, the run between Creatures and Asylum, those 4 albums are underrated. They've got some wacky lyrics and stuff like that on them, but they're better than what a lot of people remember. Crazy Nights, now that's an album that I can't get behind. But those, yeah, I agree. Johan, have you seen them live? And if so, what was your favorite show that you've seen with them?
I have seen them 3 or 4 times live, but it's late in their career. So,
yeah.
But the first time I saw them were in Gothenburg, 1996 on the reunion tour.
Right.
And that was absolutely amazing concert. That was 10 out of 10 concert. It was sold out, of course, since month, and we had to buy really expensive, this bus ticket to get there, to get the seat. It cost me a lot of money, but it was absolutely worth it. So that was my first and only, no, not only, but my first time that I saw Kiss, and they were so great. Really, really good. And after that, I saw them at Sweden Rock twice. Yes, twice, I think. And that was when Paul's voice were, he was getting older. So
Yeah.
So the show was fantastic, but that was something else to see them in the, I don't know when, a couple of years ago. But that time, back in 1996, I think that was the original band. I
Yes.
know.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a really, really great night for me and for everyone else who was there. And I bought it on a bootleg VHS, I remember, as well. So, perhaps a lot of you guys saw them on that tour as well. So, Kiss on that night, 10 out of 10. Absolutely.
Excellent. Brad, I'm sure that you've seen them in a broom closet in Rosita somewhere. But your favorite time seeing the band?
I can't remember the last time I was in Reseda, but I know it was a good time. Maybe that was North Hollywood. I don't know. The first time I saw him was probably the best time, just because it was unbelievable. 1975, San Diego Sports Arena, because they had sold out in Los Angeles before I could get tickets. I was 15, couldn't drive. Luckily, CEO Dave and his buddies were willing to drive me down there. Of course, I bought the tickets. But hey, it was worth it. Unbelievable. I think I probably paid like $8 a ticket. We're sitting in the back of the arena in the loge section, which is like, okay, you got the floor and then you got the first kind of ring of the arena. That's what they called the loge back then. So we're looking straight on to the stage there. Montrose was the warm-up band. Other than the first album, I didn't know much. They were on their Warner Brothers Presents tour. No Sammy Hagar. And they were good, but I didn't care because I was there to see Kiss, like pretty much everybody else there, except for Ronnie's third wife. I think she was there. So the lights go down, and the crowd just gets so loud. And when they hit the stage playing Deuce, okay, this is the Alive 1 tour. Okay, it's before they came out with Destroyer. So lights go down, the crowd just gets loud, the band hits the stage, boom, flames go up, and we're in the back of the arena. This is a big arena, and you can feel it. You can feel the heat from the flames all the way back there. And the band's playing, and I could tell they were playing Deuce, but I couldn't hear them because the crowd was so loud. It was the most unbelievable thing I've ever experienced. It was so freaking loud in there. And the band, if you got Kissology, you get the first, volume 1, and you see how, aggressive and how energetic the band was back then. That's the way they were. These guys are on 7-inch platform heels, the whole thing, running around, jumping, going nuts. And I was like, how are they doing this? And yet nailing it too. And this is before anybody ever thought of using backing tracks. They were playing everything. Their harmonies were just on point. Everybody singing. Well, Ace maybe just a little bit. And they played everything. They played the Alive album. I think they skipped Come On and Love Me, which I was okay with that. And they threw in, we're going to play a new one for you tonight. And they played, okay, I'm sorry. Victor should be doing Paul Stanley.
Listen.
Yeah, they played Shout It Out Loud, which we kind of looked at each other. And of course, that's kind of not the best way to hear a song for the first time. We kind of looked at each other going, what the hell is this crap? But it was still, it was kind of cool to hear a song off the new album they were working on. But the band was so good. Ace was, I mean, this is before Peter kind of became a liability. He could still play. He was playing his ass off. Ace was just on it. I saw him in '96 on the reunion tour. It was the show after they did the MTV thing, or it was VH1 or whatever it was, where they're playing under the Brooklyn Bridge.
Yeah,
And Peter Criss could barely play. It was so tough to watch. He was back there just barely hitting his drums. I don't know, they're pumping oxygen into him between songs. And Ace was okay, but he wasn't great.
Mhm.
Gene and Paul were Gene and Paul. They were as pro as ever. But for me, it was kind of tough to watch, you know, having seen them back in the day. But I realized you hadn't seen him back in the day. That was still great. And I wish Shelly, it was the first time she saw him, was on that tour, and she thought they was fantastic. She thought it was 10 out of 10, like Johan. And I get it, because you didn't have anything else to compare it to. And that's how good they are, that even when they're not great, they're still 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I think the big mistake people make with Peter specifically is he needs to come back to the band. I'm like, he couldn't do it
No.
in 79. He had fucked himself up so much that monster he was 5 years previous to that, you know, up until the mid 70s. I mean, he was ridiculous with his playing. And then after that, it just went. One of my biggest heartbreaking experiences was seeing them on that 2000 farewell tour, 2001. I forget what year it was, but terrible. I mean, all the songs were slow. He was barely hitting the drums. It was horrible.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, I think he was using mostly triggers too, because he couldn't hit them hard enough to really make them sound like anything.
but that's
But anyway,
yeah.
The bottom line is, get that Kissology, the volume 1, watch all that stuff, and you can see what a great live band
Oh
they were.
yeah,
And they all could play so well. I mean, back in the day, Peter Criss was one of the greatest drummers in rock at that point in their mid 70s.
For a small period of time, and based on how many people they influenced, I wouldn't say that he was important as Ringo or Keith Moon or John Bonham or Bill Ward even, but a second tier drummer beneath those huge names, absolutely, because he was doing like swing playing and adding different jazz things that no one was doing, that maybe Neil Peart took it to another level. But that's because he also let himself go to shit. So
yeah, well, all I can say is sit down on a drum set and try to play along with those first 3 albums. It's not straightforward. It's tough, isn't it? Yeah, he's doing some weird ass stuff.
If you grow up listening to his playing and stuff, it's not too bad. So
come on, it's not like, okay.
You're
a drummer.
I'll take playing like Peter Criss over playing like Marky Ramone. I'll just say that. It's much harder to play like Marky than it is to play like Peter Criss, because a lot of people think, oh, it's just simple 3 chords straight ahead. Tommy and Marky Ramone play 64th notes continuously on the hi-hat. That's
I'm with you there.
difficult to do. To play it properly. You can play whole notes. You could play every beat. You could do 1, 2, 3, 4. Sure, anyone can do that. But play 64th notes continuously for 3 minutes.
I get that, but that's kind of a one-trick pony too.
It's easy to say.
Peter Criss, you couldn't put his style into just doing one thing. I mean, he did a lot of things. I mean, he was
All right. We'll agree to disagree on that one.
Yeah, I'm talking style more than just, you know.
But that's like saying that Paul's bass playing is as good as Gene's bass playing on the early albums. Two different styles, two different disciplines.
True.
So, Anthony, how are the notes coming along?
Well, I have them. Now, will I go back to them? I don't know.
Hey, who knows? It could start a good barbecue this summer, or if you have a chimney at home, you know, it could be things you need to get that log going.
It's the only Kiss song that I have in my collection is on the Days to Confuse soundtrack, and it's Rock and Roll All Night.
There you go. One of my favorites.
Well, there you go. It's not Beth, huh?
No. But no, you're talking about seeing them live. I've never seen them live.
Yeah, yeah.
So
you made that clear before. Cool. Jeremy, you want to talk about the shows?
Yeah, I've seen them 3 times. The first time I saw them was in 2010 at the Echo Arena in Liverpool.
Okay.
That was a strange show because it was very empty. I was surprised that it hadn't sold out. It was probably less than half full. And even the band made Paul Stanley mentioned that. He said, along the lines of, you may not be the biggest crowd, but you can sure be the loudest, as he was trying to get us to sing along to something. So they really noticed it. And I think it was something to do with the promoters and the fact that it was in Liverpool and not Manchester, and it was on a midweek night or whatever. But they still put on a great show, and that's the thing about Kiss. They didn't let it affect them. They did the same show that you're going to see every time. Didn't cut it short. All the pyro was there, all the special effects. It was great. Anyway, then I saw them at Download Festival. Again, they were really good there. And then I saw them finally in 2019 in July at the Manchester Arena on the end tour, where I got this T-shirt. And they played hit after hit. I mean, I was just looking through the set list actually, just to remind myself. 23 songs, all hits all the way through. And it's surprising really when you hear Kiss and you realize there's a lot of songs from the old days that that don't always come, you don't always think about them all the time, but when they play them live, they just come across really well live. They're just such a great live band because you can sing along to all those choruses, because a lot of the stuff is a bit repetitive, and so those repetitive sort of choruses really come across in a live setting, and that's what you want to do. And Gene has always said, it's not just about the songs themselves; it's about theatre. It's about putting on a show, and you want people to go home at the end of the night with a smile on their face, and we certainly did.
Gene is always one for words. He loves to say things.
Yeah.
Let's see if, of course, it will not load on time.
I love the sound of your voice, and sometimes I get carried away.
See that? He loves the sound of his own voice, and sometimes he gets carried away. So
I'm surprised. I don't think he had it on sale at the time, but if he'd have had the vault on sale, he would have just dragged it on stage at the end of the concert and just advertised it, because that's Gene for you. He would have wanted you to see it.
That would have never happened, because Gene and Paul are very different when it comes to a lot of these sorts of things.
Okay.
And Paul wanted nothing to do with Gene's vault. Gene's vault ended up being like a litmus test to see if they could bring Ace back to do stuff, if they could do stuff with Vinny, if they could do stuff with Peter, because they had all been parts of all this. Bruce as well. I know of, when they had Vinny in Nashville, I was speaking to Chris Sinza because he was there, and he told me right away, Gene lasted like 2 minutes with him and said, "Okay, we're done." So they moved on. He realized that he was still the same nutty person that they'd kicked out of the band I don't know how many years previous to that. And then Ace and Peter wanted money, so that's why that didn't move forward from there. But anyway, Steve, have you seen them live?
I have not.
You have not, but you
Nope.
got to see Ace live and hated it.
That's true.
So almost.
Where did you? Yeah, where did you see Ace? Tell us the story.
New York Steel.
Oh yeah, that's right. You did tell us the
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember now. It's all coming back to me now.
See that? You're Meatloaf all of a sudden. It's all coming back to you. Yeah. So
it's they're a band that I would go see, but not in a rush necessarily, and for the price of the tickets, I don't feel like I'm a big enough fan to spend that kind of money on the
That makes
tickets.
sense.
But if somebody was like, "Hey, I have this ticket, you want to go with me?" No strings, or you don't even have to pay for it. I'd be like, "Okay, cool, I'll go see Kiss," because I'm sure it's an awesome show.
Yeah, I mentioned my brother before. That's how he got sucked into seeing them like 5 years ago. Somebody offered him a ticket for like $5, and he was like, "All right, for $5, I'll go see him."
Sure.
So,
And I can't remember what Art said about that. Did he enjoy it?
yeah, he enjoyed it. He just thought that he just said that he could do without all of the Paul banter in between songs.
Yeah, I agree with that. Which, by the way, I don't remember Gene ever really talking much during a concert.
He never does.
Okay, that's what I thought. Even though he likes the sound of his own voice.
Yeah. The only time that he's ever spoken between songs is because there was an incident where Paul, I forget if he had an allergic reaction and couldn't sing, or I forget what the
No, it's when he had the tachycardia problem, when his heart just took off and he had to go to the hospital, and they did the show. They did the show as a 3-piece,
right? And Gene sung
yeah.
Stutter and stuff like that. Yeah,
he sung it. Yeah.
So, I've seen them twice. I got to see that terrible farewell tour show, and then I got to see them. I'm seeing online that it was 2008 at a festival. That day had so we got to see Tiger Tails, Death Angel, Obituary, Brujeria, Arch Enemy, Tesla, MSG with Chris Slade's pitiful performance, Saxon, Blind Guardian, Europe, Dio, and Kiss. And I will say that we never got to see, we saw Europe and Blind Guardian on the screen because we waited to see Dio and Kiss, who were at a different stage, and ensure that we would be a good spot to see them. But Kiss was great that night. It was with Eric and it was with Tommy, but it was, the usual show with all the regalia. They were celebrating the 35th anniversary of Alive, so they played Alive in its entirety. And they added a few songs here and there that weren't from that. But for the most part, it was that solid block. And my wife to this day will still argue that Dio was better than Kiss. But anyway, we had fun at that show. And to me, that was the best show that I've seen with them. I wish I would have been able to see them more, and I had offers to see them at other times, but just couldn't for one reason or another. But anyway, they are, for me, I'm at the opposite end of the spectrum from Anthony. Them and Maiden are my 1A and 1B. There are times where I would tell you that Maiden is my favorite band. There's other times that I would tell you that Kiss are. I've listened to them. I wouldn't say equally because I've listened to Kiss more than anyone, but Maiden has kind of captivated me in the same way. So for me, it's a thrill to talk about Kiss. And Jeremy, real quickly, you brought up in the private chat here, Carnival of Souls. I know a lot of people don't like Carnival of Souls because they tried to go after the grunge for a bit there on that album. They sound more like Sabbath and Alice in Chains and stuff like that than they obviously sound like Kiss on that album. But I personally think that has a lot of good stuff on it. The Elder, which you mentioned, that was them working with Lou Reed and a coked up Bob Ezrin. And yeah, there's some things that work and a lot that just doesn't. It was them trying to pander to the Max's Kansas City crowd and to the prog crowd, and it just didn't work. They wanted Bob Ezrin to produce the Kiss version of The Wall, and it just didn't happen. So and yeah, they've been hit and miss with albums and songs and different things, but I think that's kind of the at least for me, kind of what I appreciate about them. But anyway, any parting words here, Johan? Anything from you before we wrap this up?
No, no, yes. I like, as I mentioned in chat, the 80s versions of Kiss. And that's probably because I was, around 14, 15 in the 80s. So that's why that period is my favorite. So, and I love to hear all of you guys saying your favorite, but a lot of my friends are huge Kiss fans, like you, Victor. They are Kiss is their religion, and for me that's hard. But Kiss is a good band. They're not the best, but absolutely top 15, perhaps top 15. Yeah.
All right, we'll take it. Awesome. Brad, any parting words?
You wanted the best. Yeah, all I can say is about Kiss, and you've probably run into this too, Victor, with the interviews you've done. When you start talking to musicians about what got them into music, if it's anybody my age or slightly older than Johan, or in between there, or maybe Johan's age and in between, almost everybody cites Kiss as the band that got them into wanting to play music. Whereas you go older than me, it's all the Beatles. It's like, that's what I saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan. That's what made me want to play guitar. For my age and 10 years down, it's like when I saw Kiss, when I heard Kiss, that's what made me want to play music. Mm-hmm. And I don't think you can deny the power of what they've done as far as influencing music that's still going on even now. Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, you can't take that away from them. You say what you want about them, and Anthony, I'm going to tell you, you can't deny the power of Kiss and what they've done. Find a musician who's like actually a decent musician other than Yngwie, and ask them what they think about Kiss, and they'll talk to you for a long time.
Well, I don't, like I said, I don't know in the UK or in Ireland if you'll find that. That's difficult. There are, I mean, it's there, but
I have a friend who, he's a great guitar player, plays a lot of punk bands over his time, and he adores Kiss.
See, there you go. Yeah, talk to the Edge, man. He'll tell you. I can't do an Irish accent right now, but yeah, he'll tell you Kiss, brilliant. So that's my parting shot. The power of Kiss.
There you go. Okay. Now that we've flip-flop order here, Steve, any parting words?
A recommendation. If anybody hasn't seen the movie Role Models, I would highly recommend it. It has a very Kiss influence to it that I would highly recommend. I think everybody would enjoy it. And even without the Kiss thing, it's a very amusing movie.
Yeah, I was going to show that movie to my kids because of the Kiss
Uh,
aspect too. And
a
about
little.
3 minutes into it, I'm like, yeah, nope, not gonna work.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not really a kids movie, but the adults will like it.
Yeah,
Yeah, not
And,
like the Big Lebowski, which is a great kids movie.
yeah. Well,
It's not even a good movie.
Oh,
That's my hot take.
oh, wait, oh, wow,
Hot
wow.
take.
Okay, Steve, Steve, I
Personally.
love you, but we're gonna have to agree to fight on this one.
You can win, but it's not for me. But that's cool. I know I'm in the minority on that one. But and also as a parting thing, I just want to mention 2 friends that have passed away. That were massive Kiss fans. So anytime I see Kiss, it makes me think of them. And so Blade and Brian, I love you guys.
awesome. Well, I don't know Blade or Brian, but hope you're rocking out to Kiss somewhere, and
No doubt.
we would all wish that you were here and enjoying this conversation with us. So, Anthony, any parting words?
No, not really. I have me Apple Music open here, and I'm just scrolling through Kiss's discography.
Okay.
Why is there 2 different covers to Destroyer?
Because one is the original, the second one is the Bob Ezrin resurrected version, which he went back and remastered the whole thing from the original tapes, like about 10 years ago.
And he also remixed it too. There's 2 albums in that. So there's
Yeah.
a remastered one and a remixed one.
Which there's the fan base is divided because
Well,
a lot
I knew that was a can of worms. Sorry. Go on.
I'm in the minority. I like the updated remastered sound because all of the instruments are more present. You can hear everything much clearer. He took the original analog tapes using today's technology to mix it, and it still sounds like a 70s album, but it sounds louder without being brick walled. So I think it sounds cool. What I don't like is that they released last year. Last year, they're getting people to pay $50 for the original fucking mix with a bad bootleg. That's stupid. So, and
hey,
also,
I want to say something about Anthony really quick.
what's that?
Dude, I have so much respect for you coming on here, being not a big Kiss fan and talking with us about Kiss. Not talking shite about them either. That shows what a great music fan you are. So I respect that.
Well, as I say, I've listened to people talk about Kiss for a long time. I've listened to people talk about Kiss much, much more than I've actually listened to Kiss. So, no, actually, there was one day I played one live album and I got about halfway through and I was like, no, thank you.
Which one?
Oh, I think it was the big one everyone always talks about, Alive 2 or something.
No. You got to go Alive 1.
Maybe it was that. Anyway.
Anthony, we got to hang out, man.
Sure. I like the cover to Harder Than Hell. I think that's cool.
Yeah, that's a little risque for. I know I didn't realize it at the time when I was 15, and somebody handed me that one, and I started looking kind of deeper in some of those pictures on there on the back of it. I'm like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Whoa. How did this get in the racks there at the Wallach's Music World?
Definitely influenced Motley Crue a few years later with a lot of the early pictures with the topless babes and stuff like that. It's a lot of imagery was lifted from that. Yeah. And there's, I don't want to open up another can of worms, as Anthony just said, but there's a lot of other stuff with that back album cover I think Ace had just had like one of his many car accidents, so he almost couldn't get his makeup on, and he might not even have the makeup on. I think they like painted it on after. There's like some shit like that. I mean, I'm a big fan, but becoming a podcaster, I've noticed that I'm really not that big of a fan because there are people that will come out of the woodworks and tell you what fucking zippers and buttons they have on their costumes. So
Again, the power of Kiss right there.
there you go. Jeremy, any parting words from you regarding Kiss?
Yeah, just a couple of quick things. One is that you get to the end of a band's career and you realize, you sort of look back on what they've done and you realize how much they've contributed to rock and roll. And, Kiss I've sort of realized now how much they were influenced by sort of glam rock and 60s and soul, and there's a lot of swing in there. And, there's a lot of complex things going on which I wasn't sort of aware of. And I sort of appreciate their their history a lot more now looking back on it. So that's one thing I'd say. And the second thing is that having listened to all 20 studio albums over the past few weeks, I've actually realized what their greatest song is, and I'm about to reveal that now. And it's on Love Gun, and the greatest song that they ever made is called I Stole Your Love.
Okay.
And it's absolutely amazing because it never leaves my head.
That is a good song, Jeremy. That's a great song.
That's probably my favorite song off of Love Gun. Out of the albums that were recorded by the original band, out of that original 70s run, that's probably my least favorite album, Love Gun. But I Stole Your Love is a great, great song that was covered by Halloween years later, actually.
Yeah, and I just wish that they'd put in some of those songs into their live set. I mean, we hear the same songs in the live set all the time. I mean, I'd love to see Room Service in there, and I'd love to hear Anything for My Baby off Dress to Kill as well. Some of those songs should be in the live set because it'd be a different live thing really if we had those being played.
Yeah, convince Paul to play more than the 12 songs that they've been playing live for the last 30 years now. Because Gene has done it. Gene's gone out with his solo band, which is Ace's solo band now as well, and they start pulling shit out that was never played live originally. So that's all a Paul thing. I think once they're done doing their shows, I don't know if we're going to see much of Paul at all, because I think he's going to be cooking at home and doing a little else. So,
yeah, be counting his royalty.
Yeah, well, I don't know. They all sold their publishing off, so I don't know how that works if they get anything after the fact. But yeah, you mentioned importance. A lot of people don't realize that there are a lot of aspects that they kind of pioneered in the live setting. Definitely, obviously, the pyro and stuff with risers and stuff like that. But they were the first band to have a traveling PA system. And I've had arguments with people in the past that have said, no, the Grateful Dead or the Stones or whatever. Look back at some of that early stuff around like 74-ish, 75, when they started headlining. They weren't going out with like 2 and 3 mics at the same time. They had done work with that. One of the first bands to have their own traveling lighting truss as well. There's a bunch of different things that they've done over the years that other bands have come over or used after because they've incorporated. Have they been the most original band in other aspects? No, of course not. But anyway, I want to thank everyone that's here. Brad, Steve, Jeremy, Anthony, Johan, who was with us before. Thank anyone who's listening or watching this after the fact, after recording this live tonight. I hope you guys enjoy this. I'm sure that there's some Kiss fan out there listening to any of the comments or stuff and saying that we're wrong with most of this stuff, or waving their fist in the air, complaining about how, Crazy Nights is the best album, but whatever. Anyway, thank all of you guys. Again, thanks anyone who's checking this out. And on that note, we are going to wrap things up here with this KISS special. If you want to be part of the next discussion next month, which we'll be talking about 1983, for as little as $2 a month, you can do this. Join us. Let us know what you think. It's a lot of fun, and we don't bite. So there you go.
$2.
Yeah.
$2.
You don't have to potty train us or anything. Just come on in, troll-free environment. We love talking about music, and that is it. So on that note, we will leave you, folks. See you next time right here on the Signals from Mars live stream. See ya.